As participants chat,
Oh,
share
it's
screen,
recording.
record and reaction. Oh, it is recording.
Oh, I've just pressed
Oh,
that
yeah.
record to cloud.
There we go. Yeah, we're off.
Okay. Yeah. So, yeah, I'm sorry about the technical issues. Like I say, this is the first Zoom, so there's a lot of mistakes being made, as you can see. But as we go on, I'm hoping that we can just kind of, it will just be easy and free flowing. Just a warning: I am Zambian, even though I've lived in the UK for a long time. So there are some words that I might say that you might be like, "That's not English." I'm sure that is not English, but I speak 8 other languages, so I'm trying to process, yeah, everything.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
You are forgiven.
Oh yeah, thank you. You're the first. You know what I say to my partner? I say English people expect everyone to speak English, like excellent English. No wonder French people are like, no, I'm not speaking English.
So
You
true.
can speak French with me. Yeah, so we're just going to start, I think, just dive into the conversation and speak about, obviously, why we're here, and we're talking about mental health and raising awareness. I know each and every one of you is doing something to raise awareness for alopecia, and you are doing it in different forms, different ways, which are also inspiring. That's why, I'm so privileged to come in front of you and just kind of have this conversation and hopefully help someone out there to see what you guys are doing in different ways and inspire, the younger generation to come out and represent anyone that's experiencing any type of hair loss, including alopecia, from what we're going to discuss today. So obviously, us being in isolation, I know for myself, when I had that little moment of losing my hair after I had my son, it's called, I think, postpartum hair loss, which I didn't know at the time. I was so embarrassed to tell my partner, or to actually just tell someone that actually my hair is falling off. Like, what is this? And the first thing I did was go on Google to search to see if that's, what is this after I've had a child? That's the most intense hair loss I've experienced. And then I found out that there's a platform where people are talking about it and actually saying how it's affecting you. I think from that time, I got inspired to get into hair loss more and alopecia and kind of see what's out there. Like, why isn't anyone talking about it? I'll start with you, Miranda. I don't know if you can take us back to like it could be the first time you saw that you were experiencing hair loss, like you when you had hair and then all of a sudden you didn't have it, or is there a first time for you, and just what you went through? Take us through the stages.
Mine was very rapid and really traumatic, actually. So it happened after my second child, and I noticed a few hairs, but I went from having a full head of hair, long, thick. And I always used to be like, oh, I've got too much hair. And I always blame myself for saying that. And I'm like, oh, maybe someone listened to me and just got rid of it all. But it literally all fell out in 2 weeks. And then there was one night that I was just pulling it out. And I had a Sainsbury's bag just full of all my hair. And I had to ring my husband and get him to come back. And, he'd left to go to the pub with his mates and I'd had a full head of hair, and he came back and I was completely bald. And I remember just that night, I just couldn't really sleep. And I was like, this must be a bad dream. Like, I'm going to wake up, I'm going to have hair. And I think because it happened so suddenly, it was a bit like I didn't really have time to grieve. So there was, it was just sudden shock. And what I didn't realize with the months to come really was a grieving process for me. And I'd never really experienced grief. I since have from losing a loved one. But there's for me, there's so many similarities between what I went through, and it's really taken me. That was now I lost my hair 2.5 years ago, and it's really taken till now for me to realize that I've been on a massive journey of acceptance, because initially when it happened, I was over the top okay with it. But I wasn't. Inside, I wasn't. But outwardly, my outward projection to the world was, oh God, it's just hair. Like, I'm fine. I'm totally fine.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I wanted to make sure my kids were brought up just being fine with it, not thinking it's a problem, accepting of everyone's differences. So I put on this big smile and just carried on as normal. And I didn't actually give myself any space to acknowledge that it was tough and that it was okay for it to be tough.
Would you say your first point of contact was your family as soon as you just kind of found out, and then they helped you come out to the community to show who you are? Or did you actually go to a GP or approach a specialist? Or
I immediately went to immediately my family were incredible, and they were there for the sort of emotional support, and there when I actually then just I had to shave the last few strands off, sort of thing. But I did go straight to a doctor, and I tried everything. I mean, I'll be completely honest, I'm so desperate, and I talk a lot about acceptance of it, of hair loss, but I am still hopeful that it will one day grow back, because it did grow back. It grew back a year after I lost it. And when I was pregnant with my third child, a full, like, thick head of hair, and then my mum died, and then I lost it all again. So to me, and so I've been through that process twice, which is also like, I don't know what's worse, you know, you can't really compare, but I know it has grown back. I'm like, there's something internal, whether it's emotional, mental, health related, but something is not right. And therefore I do seek solutions and I do trial things. And so, yeah, I immediately went to consultant, dermatologist, and, you know, did, I'm not sure what everyone else has been through, but had injections. I went on steroids. And then I took autoimmune suppressants, which put me in hospital, and I nearly died. So then I came straight off of it. And
were they prescribed by, who prescribed that? Was that a medical professional or?
Yeah. Consultant dermatologist.
Yeah. Oh, wow. It seems like you've been through sort of a journey, like you've been through quite a lot in terms of, you know, your journey with hair loss, and obviously coming to where you are here, where we, you know, when I saw your profile on Instagram, I was like, wow, she looks so happy and so content in who she is, and you know, she's so inspiring.
No, that's what scares me about it. I came off Instagram for 3 years, but really when I lost my hair, because I just realized I was just comparing myself to people who had beautiful hair. And then I only follow people with hair loss or who are part of the hair loss community. And I'm very strict with that. I have to set that boundary, because I know for me, otherwise it's a
trigger.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, it's understandable. I think I have obviously met friends and, you know, through research who've experienced alopecia, and they've questioned, said, you've got head on your, you know, got hair on your head. Why are you here? What are you doing here? And I have understood where they're coming from, in terms of, you probably don't understand the day-to-day challenges that we experience with alopecia, for you to be able to kind of contribute to the campaign. And I respect that, because I think it would be not genuine for anyone who's experienced any short-term hair loss to even imagine how they would handle having long-term hair loss. You could only just listen and respect sort of the boundaries that are created by each and every individual. I'll go to Faith. I mean, what are your thoughts from what Miranda has said? Is your story different? Is your journey different from Miranda? Like, I mean, is there anything you can relate to, or something that you kind of are, not, what we could learn from your journey as well, looking to tell us?
So my journey is quite the opposite. So mine took over 10 years for it all to fall out. So my hair loss started when I was 10 years old, and my mum found it when she was drying my hair. So she took me straight to the doctors, and they said instantly, oh, it's alopecia, it's just this. And then he showed me loads of photos of other women, other men as well, who have alopecia, which as a 10-year-old freaked me out even more. So I was seeing all these people with hair loss, and I was like, oh, but my hair was 10 years old, and from that I was always thinking like, oh my gosh, everyone at primary school, then high school, and so it was a constant, and that shift from primary school to high school is where quite a lot fell out, and I didn't want to cover it up because I just wanted my hair. I just didn't want it to be happening, and I had to come to a conclusion that I had to wear headbands, and I was like, this is not fashionable, I don't want to wear this, teenager, and ended up wearing these black headbands, and my friends at the time were really supportive. She even came into school with one as well to help me out, and I was like, no, this is not going to be a trend, it's fine.
You never know.
Well, they are.
Yeah, they are now.
I did wear them to uni before I was completely bald, and a few other girls also used to wear them as well, like a sweatband, so it did catch on eventually, so
you started the trend.
But yeah, going back to year 8, that's when my hair was really bad. I couldn't cover it up with a ponytail or with clips or with a headband anymore, so I got my first wig, and it wasn't the best wig. It was very like an emergency buy, like I dyed my hair overnight kind of thing to everybody else. And I remember going to school, and on the first day I said to my mum, what do I do if someone asks me if I'm wearing a wig? And my mum just said, oh, just shrug it off, just pretend they're being silly. And someone actually asked me, wait, is it a wig? I went to almost touch the top, to which I have no idea what happened. I think I had a panic attack or ran off, I don't remember. So that was my first day wearing a wig to school. And then 2 days later, I came out to the whole of my year, because I was like, it's either gonna fall off or something, and I'd rather the people know and there's no rumours. I then wore wigs up until I was 18, and when I was 18 I found out I was gluten intolerant and had deficiencies in iron and things, and when I transferred my diet to no gluten, I did see a hair growth from that. And I went to uni, I started doing yoga, and again my hair started to grow back. It was really thick, it was healthy. I still had to wear wigs occasionally. And I remember my first year of uni, I didn't want to leave the flat to go to the shops or to go out unless I was wearing my wig. The only time I'd leave the house without my wig would be to go to my classes. Like even going to the shops, I had to put my eyebrows on, I had to put my wig on. So I was like, people will just stare, and I don't want people to stare. And then it got to when was it? September 2019. So I was in my second year, just started my second year of uni, and my hair was nearly all grown back, and it just all fell out again. So dramatic. And from September of nearly having a full head of hair to in October, I'd see it in the dance studio on the floor, and people would be like, oh, who did this hair? And I'm like, oh, it's not mine.
Oh, no.
And then I'd see it on my bed and my pillow when I wake up. I'd see it in the shower, and just seeing it on me and falling off, that was the worst bit for me, and that was what was getting me down. Not the fact that I was going bald, that didn't bother me. It was the fact that I could see the hair like in my hands and like on my bed, and
traumatic.
So yeah, and I just finished a dance class, and I just said to everyone, I'm going to shave it this weekend, and I did. I shaved it all off. My parents came up, my sisters, and we all had a very emotional Sunday, shaving it all off. So yeah, that was my journey, and now I don't wear wigs. I feel like my life is so active and physical that it's just too hard to wear a wig. So yeah, that's my journey really. So,
wow. You can see from, you know, Miranda's story and Faith that the way you've kind of stages of how you've, it's quite similar in the sense that other people around influenced your coming out, let's say, and just saying I'm not going to wear the wig because of their reactions towards, you know, alopecia. If their reactions, I mean, this is just me kind of playing devil's advocate or just asking maybe Miranda or Faith, as in, would, if their reactions were different, if they understood that it's okay in society to have people who are different, people who know, who go through certain different challenges, illnesses, or stages of change in their lives, it's okay for people to just be themselves, then maybe having alopecia, maybe managing alopecia would have been much more less stressful, maybe for no, for both of you. I mean, I'm just asking, is that do the people around you contribute to some of the decisions that you've made to come out and just say, I'm not going to wear a wig and I'm just going to be me? Or is it just something that you came up with over time because of your journey?
I think what I learned is that by putting on this front, I was doing more damage to myself. And what would have been amazing, you know, it was no fault of anyone's, but is if people had actually stopped and said, but are you okay? You know, done the are you okay? And it's all right to cry about this, and it's all right to, you don't, you know, and it's all right, because I felt very guilty about pursuing wigs, and because I suddenly felt like, oh, does that make me really vain? I felt this huge guilt, like, oh, if I'm doing my eyebrows and if I'm putting fake eyelashes, I'd always be, before that, quite low maintenance, and I'd just wake up in the morning and just get out of bed and not put a bit of moisturizer on or something. And suddenly, you know, I was really having to make quite a lot of effort to look normal,
to look the part.
And I think, yeah, if my friends and family, I think they just thought, well, it's Miranda, she's really strong. And people, I always say to you, oh my God, she's got such a lovely head shape. Like,
honestly, you do. Honestly, I'm one of the people who would say, like, anyone with alopecia, and I say this when I'm talking to an agent who's casting for anyone in the entertainment industry, are absolutely gorgeous. They've got the perfect, I don't know what alopecia does to you. Maybe it's shaving your head. Your cheekbones just honestly come out and your face looks so pretty. I was telling Christella when I saw her, I was like, you should be into modeling, you know. She was like, yeah, I'm trying to do a bit of modeling now, you know. And I was like, you are absolutely stunning. And then I'm looking at all these pictures and I saw the picture of Faith doing that, just doing a little that. Just like that, and the picture is just gorgeous. Take a regular model and ask them to do that, you know, with all the hair, ask them to do that. It's like, no, it just doesn't look right. Like, I don't know. And
move over, Kate Moss, the ball.
Yeah, honestly, I mean, I think there is this thing where people we don't see our value. It's normally other people sometimes you see, because we might look at someone else and think they have more value in terms of having hair and having I mean, the hair talk is a challenge even in the Black community. A lot of Black women who are in the entertainment industry wear wigs because our hair is very and it's very hard to maintain. And so they wear wigs all the time. And so they have to wear those wigs to fit into what they think people will buy into in terms of the entertainment industry, what looks good and stuff. So if they do that, I don't see why I mean, I see how someone with alopecia could say, I'm just going to be wearing wigs as well, just to look the part and to just look part of the community, and no one would have to ask me questions and things like that. I mean, I don't know, Colette, if you could share your story in terms of how, I know we've had a long conversation about this, you know, what your first sort of stages were. I know, taking you back, just like obviously Miranda and Faith.
Yeah, definitely. So mine's a bit of a mixture of the Miranda and Faith's, really, in that I first noticed that I had a little, well, I didn't notice it, actually, my friends noticed it at school, on the back of my head there, a little bald patch at about 16. And then, so I'm 41 now, and so sort of through that time, the first sort of, well, until I was about 30, I just lost small patches. But like Miranda, I had really thick, long hair, and it was always underneath my hair, and I never really got any on top. So it was quite easy, or it's easier to hide it, really. And then as a teacher, I did find that job quite stressful, and I think that probably contributed to getting more patches under there. And then I did have quite one stressful year, and more fell out then. But then it wasn't until after the birth of my son that I started to get sort of bigger patches on the top of my head then. So I don't know whether it was like the change in hormones or, you know, just the change in your body just made me lose more. But then, interestingly enough, when I was pregnant with my daughter, then it all grew back like Miranda. But then the fallout after my second child was much worse then, and then it was just a downward spiral, really, into just what you see now, really. But for a long time, I was definitely in that, well, first of all, it was that fear stage of, oh my God, what's happening to me? You know, because when you go to the doctors, they sort of say, well, we don't really know what's going to happen. We don't know how much of your hair is going to fall out. It could grow back. You could end up with no hair. And it's that fear of the unknown that you just don't know where you are. And I expect as well with Faith and Miranda, that sort of roller coaster of growing it, losing it, then growing it back, then losing it. It's like you don't know where you stand with it. And every time that happens to you, I guess, and I know it happened with me, you're looking in the mirror and you're thinking, like, who is this person now? Because you don't recognize yourself in a way. And especially when my eyebrows and my eyelashes went as well, you know, you look in the mirror and you think, who is this person? Like, you don't look anything like how you used to look, and you've almost got to like relearn your identity and get used to this new identity over again. And I think that's sort of the difficulty, and especially I expect with the, you know, losing it and then it growing again in quite a short period of time as well, must be like really difficult. And that's the thing that I found most difficult, was first of all the fear, but then the looking at myself and thinking, this doesn't look like me. And it's taken me a long time. So I've been Universalis now for 5 years, but it's only been this year really that I've decided I'm sick of feeling like I'm hiding under a wig. And I just want to be me, and I want to be free. And so, you know, I do mostly still wear wigs when I'm out, but I've definitely turned a corner, I think. And I think the more, and since opening my Instagram account, I think the more I sort of chat with other people like me, the more sort of acceptance I get, and I feel more sort of courageous about doing it too. So that's been a big thing. But also the denial stage of, you know, after I'd lost quite a lot of it, I was using, instead of getting a wig, because the idea of a wig to me, and it seems so silly saying this now, but the idea of a wig was just so like, oh my God, I've got to wear a wig, like I can't believe it, sort of thing. And the whole idea of a wig to me just seemed really, I really hated the idea. But only because we've been, you know, we're in a society where that's seen as something, well, not now, because I think more and more people are wearing wigs, but at that time, and especially when your ideas about wigs are formed, probably when you're a bit younger, that was seen as like a negative thing. And so I've just brought all those ideas from my childhood, or, you know, you see the Disney princesses with the long flowing hair and very slim figures, and, you know, you think that's what the ideal, well, that's what we're fed, isn't it? The idea that this is the ideal way to look. And if you don't fit into that category, then you're not beautiful, and that makes me quite cross, really. But anyway, so I digress.
Honestly, obviously, I say part of this project, what we're doing with the mental health and alopecia, is talking about what society is doing right now, and what we're doing now is going to influence the way society does things in terms of brands and the beauty industry, how they suppress certain demographics or people, and just elevate this one little sort of, I'd say people who kind of influencers are a small part. You know, the influencers we see on Instagram, they're a really small part to the real world. The real world is actually bigger. We are a lot more than influencers who are defining what beauty is. And if we all came out to do what we're doing now on our platforms with different organizations, work with as many organizations as you can, I think alopecia will be taken. We've already started seeing the changes in terms of seeing models. Like I said, Christelle said she modeled for one of the brands. Even though the sort of storyline is always changed, we are putting ourselves out there and saying, this is who I am, take it or leave it. But we are a bigger community than the sort of the smaller beauty, Barbie doll looking sort of representation. We are bigger, and the more we talk, I am very confident in the next 5 years with this generation, which is kind of fighting for change in many areas, we will gain the sort of support that we need in terms of that conversation that we're going to cover as well, Colette, of what beauty
got a bit
is.
ahead of everything there.
No, I mean, it applies to your story, doesn't it? It applies to, obviously, what you've been through stage by stage. And I think, if I remember well, Christelle, obviously we're coming to you now. You did speak a bit about wigs when we had that sort of chat pre this meeting. You did speak about how you enjoy wearing wigs today and tomorrow, changing the looks. Obviously, before you go to that, obviously, beauty element, I don't know if you're okay sharing with us your stages in whichever way sort of you would like to, and then we could go to the beauty element of society, I would say.
Yeah. Okay. So for me, I think my journey is a little piece of everyone here, very much so, in the fact that I have alopecia. I started having alopecia areata, which kind of meant that I formed little patches, you know, in and around my head, and I was quite able to conceal it, and it, you know, for a long while I could kind of still, you know, portray like everything was fine. And, you know, this was I was 9 years old.
This hair as well.
Sorry, my love?
There's this hair that's quite, it's easy to hide hair loss if you've got curly hair, or...
Yeah, you can kind of manipulate it. I always say, like, I was the Houdini of hiding the patches, because I could figure out a style that would just, you know, cover them, and I can kind of crack on and go to school. But, you know, that got progressively worse towards, you know, the end of my primary school, to the point where I really started to not want to go in. I would, you know, make all the excuses in the book, because I just did not want to have to figure out how I was going to hide my patches that day. And, you know, it got very traumatic, because I think, you know, my mum, she did her absolute best, and she was fantastic in, you know, helping me kind of figure it out. But, you know, when you've got a child who's got alopecia, you don't really know much about the causes or what's going to happen. And, you know, you don't really, you know, as a parent, it has to be really stressful, because you want to help your child and you want to, you know, make them feel better, but there is literally nothing that you can can do. It's you know, the autoimmune disease, there's so much that there's so little known about it still to this day. So when I started to go to high school, yeah, it was just like, you know, how am I going to figure this out? And I was kind of, you know, doing a lot of hiding, and again, still not really wanting to go to school, because I just didn't really want to face it, to be honest. And I think part of me wishes, like in hindsight, you know, it had been okay. I'd kind of been given the okay from, you know, my family to just be bald and just kind of figure that out. But, you know, at the same time, all you as a parent, I'm sure, want for your child is for them to just fit in. You know, you just don't want them to be the odd one out, you know. So I did start wearing wigs. At first I wore pieces for a long time, and then I went to wigs, and you know, that the wig world, that's a whole, we could go into it for hours and hours, but it was, you know, it was a big situation that I couldn't really understand. And then when I was 17, I got really unwell, and I was hospitalized with a blood infection, and I lost probably 95% of my hair, and I had this tiny little amount of hair just like right here. I looked like a bunny rabbit, like just a little tuft of hair, and I held on to that for dear life. Like there was nothing in this world that could tell me that this hair wasn't coming back. I was adamant that it was coming back, and I was going to hold on to it, you know, and in the hopes that something would happen, you know. And my sister, you know, I kind of played that on, you know, for years and years. I was wearing wigs, still wearing wigs, and in my, you know, early 20s, my sister was like, I think it's time to let go of the tuft. Like, I think we should probably just shave it off. And, you know, it was one day she was just like, she got the clippers out and she was just like, yeah, well, let's just do this. And we did it together. And, you know, she supported me. She held my hand through the whole process. And, you know, and then I just was bald, and that was it. But, you know, even after that moment, I still wore wigs for a really long time, and I was still very much, like Colette said, hiding, and I wasn't being kind of honest with myself about how I was feeling about this, because I'd never really given myself a chance to grieve the whole process. I'd always kind of just been like, right, let's hide it, you know, how am I going to figure out how to hide it today? And I'd never really given myself a chance to kind of go through the stages of grief and acceptance, to feel like this was, you know, something that I had to, you know, deal with. And it wasn't until I was like, you know, in my early 20s that I decided to join a support group on Facebook. And, you know, I was just overwhelmed by all these women who were bald, and they were like loving life, and they were smiling, and they were happy, and I was like, what the hell is this? Like, wrong with you? Wait, you can be happy, like, you can smile, and it's okay, and I can feel like, you know, a new person, and actually not want to conceal my identity, and like, just, I can actually be myself. And I took to go back, but to gain entry to this support group, you have to take a picture of yourself bald, so that they know that you are a person with hair loss, or the fact that you just shaved your head. It was a support group for bald women, and I had to take a picture and send it to the admin, and I was like, oh my god, like, I've never done this before. And not that I'd never taken a picture, because it had always been the pictures, oh, where's the patch, just, you know, those kinds of things. It had never been a photo where I was actually smiling, and I was like, oh my god, this isn't bad, like, I don't actually look bad, like, it's not that horrific image that I had implanted in my mind for so many years. So yeah, once I did that, it was like, I feel like I can tell other people about this. Like, I feel like this isn't a thing. I feel like I can actually share myself with others now, because I had started to accept how I felt about it. And one day I was like, do you know what? I'm just going to do it. And I posted my first, you know, bald picture alongside a picture of me wearing a wig. and I threw it up on Instagram, and then I just threw my phone across the room and I didn't look at it for like a day. And 24 hours went by, and then I was like, oh my God, everyone's gonna know. Like all of my friends and all of my family and all of these people on Instagram that follow me are gonna know that I don't have hair, and it's all just been a lie. You know?
Oh.
The thing is, though, I think once you do that, and once you find the sort of courage, if you like, to do that, I think it just gets better then, doesn't it? And every time you sort of push yourself to do that little bit more, you know, inside you might be thinking, oh my God, I can't believe I'm doing this. But actually, once you do it, it gets much better every time you do it.
It does. It really does. And from there, like that one picture, like I had such an overwhelming amount of support, and there's just like love from all of my friends and family that were just like, this is fantastic. I'm so glad that you feel comfortable enough to be yourself. And it was just so beautiful to see. And I literally, like Colette said, I felt so free. Like the only way to describe it was pure freedom. And I haven't looked back since, really. I mean, you know, like Claire said, I do dabble, you know, I'm a wig maker, so I have, you know, tons of wigs, as you can see behind me, but I do really enjoy just going out bald, because that's the most, you know, natural state for me. That's the most, you know, less work because wigs are work, let's face it, and I sometimes just can't really be bothered. So this is just my natural state.
Christella, talking about the going back to the wigs, I know that obviously when you have alopecia, you're very sensitive to who you go to for any hair advice or any wig recommendations. Where, I mean, I think each one of us, I think everyone should share this. Where do you get your wig recommendations if you do want to get a wig, and how have you found the right person to get a wig from? Do you go to hairdressers like the sort of what's called normal? Do you go to a hairdresser, or do you have someone who, like Christella, who does it exclusively? If you could talk about the costs that come with it as well, and how that has affected you during your journey, and what your opinion is really on wigs. I think that would be so good for anyone that's starting out and maybe wants to come out to do the reveal but doesn't know, maybe that they're not confident in walking into a hairdresser's, and you can't just trust any hairdressers to open up to about alopecia, because you don't know what their reaction will be. You don't know if they've got, you know, duty of care, like they'll care for you or they'll respect you. So I'll go back to Christella to kind of continue what she was saying, but I'll come back to everyone on wigs and how to find the right person and how you did it if you wanted a wig and the costs that come with it. Christella, just going back to you. I know you are a wig specialist, but speak in forms of you as an individual, what you would do really and what you did.
Yeah, so for me, I mean, you know, when I started out, I had no idea about wigs, and I think that's the case for most people. When you're just finding that, you know, you're starting to lose your hair, it's a big world of like unknown. You don't know where to begin. But what I would say is, I mean, there are fantastic wig clinics around the country. So you can always get a referral from your dermatologist to go to a wig clinic, where they can send, you know, with the referral, you can sometimes get a set amount, an allowance for a new unit, which is what I do now. But I think a lot of the time women go straight onto online, and that's cool too, you know, that's great as well. But with that, you know, you open yourself up to bad quality wigs. And I would suggest, when purchasing a unit, to always kind of do your research. You know, sometimes contacting the business themselves, just to say, look, I don't really know where to begin. Like for me, a lot of my clients will contact me directly and just have a little chat with me about what it is that they're looking for. Oh, apologies, guys. And just kind of say, look, this is the unit I want, this is what I previously had, and maybe can you probably suggest something? And a good wig maker or a good business selling wigs is going to take the time to explain to you what it is that they can provide, or what they would suggest for you. So I would probably start there, just contacting a small business or the company first. And then also YouTube is great for reviews, as we've seen a lot of the ladies on Instagram who are in the alopecia community are reviewing a lot of the units, and they're sharing with us the quality, the cap constructions, the hair and the hair quality, and that's really helpful as well. But yeah, like I would say, I think anything that you're not sure about, if you feel like you're in your gut, you're not being heard, or you're not getting the right advice from a company that's trying to sell you a product, then probably avoid. But generally I would say talk to a dermatologist. That's probably the quickest way to get a referral into a wig clinic, and from there you can get your allowance, which is amazing.
So is that talk with the dermatologist a free consultation, or is that something that you probably would go and get from your GP, or how do you get a dermatologist? Is that free, or?
Yeah, so you can get a free referral from the NHS,
Okay.
and that would then give you an allowance to go and get a unit from a wig clinic that the NHS that the NHS have a contract with, like myself, and you can get that allowance, and we can either get a unit for you, and then that way you kind of got a starter wig, which is great. And I think it's just a helpful start in the right direction, and then from there during your consultation you can then opt into maybe going a bit further, maybe going human hair, moving on from synthetic. But I would always suggest work your way up to the big guns of human hair wigs, because they are maintenance. And while synthetic is great for a starter wig, sometimes you do want to feel that but more like yourself and go human, but that does come with some maintenance, and it does come with a cost, of course, because human hair is significantly more expensive, because we can do much more with it. But definitely the referral is very easy to get. You literally just speak to your GP or your dermatologist, and just ask them to send a referral through. And it's that simple. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to do any legwork. Literally just ask them for the referral, and they will send it through.
I think I'll pose this question to Faith, because obviously I think you're the youngest, I think, in this panel. How have you found, obviously, the access to wigs with the NHS? If at all you have gone to any NHS services, or I mean, have you seen any? Obviously, I know I have spoken to those younger people with alopecia, and they've sort of expressed that there isn't that much support. And obviously, we've listened to Christella, and clearly there is a bit of support. Obviously, that comes with a bit of a cost. I mean, what's your story when it comes to wigs, and what are your thoughts really on that?
Yeah, so I was referred to a dermatologist, and when I was 11, 12, and the idea of a wig was like, no, it's like a cartoon wig, it'll fall off in the wind. No, I'm not having one. But I generally thought that's what they'll be like. They're not. They're really secure. And the first wig I got was an emergency wig. It looked like a wig, unfortunately. Looking back anyway, now it looked like a wig. It looks like a wig. And I got that from Blackpool, a shop in Blackpool. And that was again, I think we paid for that one because it was so fast that we needed it.
Oh, so you were confident enough to go and get it in a private shop?
Yes, so we were kind of referred to a few shops to go to, and we went to the closest one, which was Blackpool.
Oh.
And there wasn't God, it was so long ago, but that first one I remember, I think we ended up paying for that because I didn't want a wig, but I needed a wig because it was just too bad, and I knew that I couldn't hide it anymore. When it started to get better was when we went back to the dermatology at instead of a clinical dermatology, went to the hospital, to the dermatology department there, and they gave me vouchers, because when I think it was when you're 16 and under, you can get 2, or this is what it was for me, I could get 2 acrylic wigs for free each year, like one, because they kind of last 6 months, I think. And you get like one for 6 months and the other for the other 6 months. So we did that for the next 2 years, and I got the same wig. I was ginger, long, side fringe. That was me. Nothing else.
Was that the colour of your hair before?
Yeah,
oh,
that's
really,
yeah. I was
really
ginger,
good.
very red as well. And I wanted to keep that because obviously my first wig it was a lot darker, and everyone said, "Oh my gosh, you've dyed your hair," and it was like more attention on me. So I thought if I go a drastic colour, I'm going to get more attention when I really don't want any attention.
Yeah.
So I went back to a ginger colour, to which everyone thought my hair had grown back, and I was like, "Oh, great, it's working, great." And then, so they were still acrylic wigs, and then I realised that I can't dance in these wigs or do PE lessons in them, because I was at high school at this point. And for those lessons, I actually went to the bathroom, took the wig off, and was wearing a headband for activities. So even though I was wearing a wig sat in my classroom, everyone knew that I was going to take it off and wear a headband in the PE lessons and dance lessons, which didn't bother me, but I think it must have seemed a bit strange to everyone else, but it's just how I wanted to deal with it. So after talking to my mum about this and going back to the dermatologist and talking to them about it, because I think I had an update with them every 6 months or every year or so, I had an update with the dermatologist, and they'll tell me the same thing. They'd offered me treatments, but I was just kind of like, no, I don't want to be put through any pain to get my hair back, so I'm not going to take them.
So they do offer options to try out different treatments based on the research of what's been found to help with the hair loss. All right, okay.
Yeah, so they offered me a few things. Offered me like a paste and the injections and some steroid cream thing. I did try the steroid cream thing, but this is when I found out that I shouldn't be using that. So after I didn't want the acrylic wigs and I wanted something to stick to my head, we went to the Princess.
Little
Princess Trust.
Yeah, that one. I went to there, and they said that they mainly supply wigs for cancer patients. That's what they told me. But the first wig for me, they said they'd do for free, and any others I'd pay for. And it was great. They took all my measurements, and I was like, I felt like a doll. I was like, oh my god, literally fixed my head.
Getting your wedding dress done. It's like, I can't wait to wear it.
It's like getting you like a clothes size fitting, but on your head. And yeah, so they brought that out and they got that made, and that was my favorite wig to this day. It's my favorite wig. I still wear it now when I have to do performances where they want me to wear hair, like they want me to have hair, because some dance people want that, which I'm fine with. And yeah, I told them that I was using this steroid hair thing, and they said, yeah, stop using it. Because
so would you say that from just what I've heard, it's much better for someone with alopecia to get a custom made wig for them? I think personally, listening in, I feel like the NHS would help if the NHS provided a nice custom wig on your first consultation. Then that gives you the confidence, a nice, whether it's human hair wig, so that you can go and wear for your first stages of alopecia, because it will give you confidence to at least look great, when you wear the wig, rather than a synthetic one that you probably might want to change after 6 months and have the same stresses of having to go and get another wig. So from just listening to you, I don't know if you agree. What do you think, Miranda? We're coming to you now, obviously.
Well, Faith,
I know you say.
Did you want to say just finish?
Yeah, so it's like I found it nice that I got to get used to the acrylic wig, and then I had the option of getting a wig that actually stuck to my head that I could dance with, that I could be active with. But then after that, I actually went on to just I call it a plonk-on. Just was how I called it. A wig that just slid on, and that was a human hair wig, to which I wore that through college until I shaved my hair off. And I found that was the most comfortable wig to get. And that was again through the NHS guidance and the dermatology guidance to go to these certain shops. But at that age, I wasn't able to get the vouchers. But because I've been going to them for so long, they did do a discount with me. I don't know the cost. My mum and my nanas wouldn't share that with me. But yeah, that was my wig journey. So it was nice that I went through like every stage. Like I tried each wig. It's just find the one that's most comfortable for you and what suits your lifestyle. So yeah.
I'd agree with that. So my wig journey is actually, it's a bit embarrassing, but I'm going to be completely honest. So I had like the opposite. I looked very, very briefly, probably for about 10 minutes to see if I could get any financial support for a wig. And I was told, or I sort of discovered, that I didn't really fall into any brackets, and that it seemed that the only support that was out there was really for cancer patients. And so I also then felt, this is just me being silly probably, but I felt that I wasn't worthy and I shouldn't take away from someone who really needed that. So I then went straight to, I was like, if I'm going to spend money on this, I may as well get the best of the best. And I'm happy to share, I spent near to £2,000 on my first wig, and I just wanted it.
Wow.
Then and there. And it was the most expensive purchase I've ever made. But I thought, well, I just, at that point, I just wanted something. And I was like, well, if this is going to last me forever, I knew nothing about wigs. So I went to a specialist. It was human hair. I knew that human hair was like supposedly what everyone wanted. I got my head measured. I hated the process. I showed them a picture of my old hair and I said, make it like that. The colouring was spectacular. I had blonde hair and highlighted blonde hair, and so they made it look highlighted. So the colour was natural. It was just so thick and heavy, and it was on a day. It was like the hottest day of the year, and I got the tube home, and it was so uncomfortable and so miserable, and I was so miserable. And I just remember looking at myself and I was like, this isn't me. This isn't who I was. I was trying so hard to be exactly like the person that I had been with, in terms of, aesthetically. And and so I tried, and this is the embarrassing part. So it was, then we moved forward, so 6 months, and it was the first time I was going to wear it with my friends. And I hadn't really worn it at all, actually, because I just found it really uncomfortable. And we went out for a Christmas party, and a lot of wine was drunk. And I ended up dancing on a chair in this restaurant. Everyone was, by the way. It was not just me, like the whole dancing. But I whipped my wig off and I like threw it into the crowd.
Oh my God.
That's amazing.
That wig was never ever seen again. But you know what? I woke up the next day and I was like, I just
what are you like?
£2,000 away. Like, what was I thinking? And I mean, I was, from a financial perspective, I was really upset. But then I was like, that psychologically for me was a moment. And I was like, it was not the right thing for me. It wasn't helping me in my journey of acceptance. And so it took a while to see the funny side. Now I think it is hilarious. But so I've done the reverse, and I've actually gone to, because I'm not like I don't need something and I don't need that consistency of look now. I go to Amazon, I still haven't really educated myself in wigs. I just like what I like. And, I find $10.99 wigs. I went to the markets in Brixton, in North Finchley, and not many of them do blonde wigs in those markets. So I was struggled to find blonde ones, but then online, and I think now my most expensive wig was about £65. But then now I can go out in the confidence that if I have a few glasses of wine, my wig, I tend to, if I know it's going to be a girls' night out, well, not that we've had for a long time, but I tend to wear the like £10 wigs.
I want to come out with you, Miranda.
No, it gets messy. And I'm sure you're going to, we'll move the conversation on, but one thing I actually find myself now investing in, losing my eyelashes and eyebrows was huge for me. So actually I probably spend less money on wigs, but I have had my eyebrows microbladed, which was to me the best investment I could ever have paid money for. I just like waking up and having my eyebrows on, and there's no faff. And I've started exploring a bit with eyelash extensions as well. So
all the time.
huh?
All the time.
All the time. And I play with magnetic ones and new glue. But
all those magnetic ones are impossible to. How do you even use them?
No, they're good.
They're so impossible. You have to use two of them, don't you?
No, not those ones. No, I don't use those ones. Those are really hard. They end up sort of down here on me.
Yeah.
No, I use ones that have magnetic eyeliner, and then it sticks to the eyeliner.
Oh, right. So you put the eyeliner on it, and then you stick it to your.
Yeah.
All right. Where do you get them?
Oh, am I allowed to say brands?
Oh, is that a thing? Is that a thing in the community? You're not allowed to tell.
Oh, I don't know. Yeah, no. The ones, the brand I use, and actually now I've moved off magnetic lashes, and it's I just use normal lashes, but they've got an eyeliner, a clear eyeliner glue. It's Lola's lashes, and they're really great.
Okay.
And they do lots of different styles, and they're very, very natural, which is what I like.
Mm. I think Miranda has got a lot of wig stories, more than she's told us. And there's a lot more things that have happened to Miranda's wigs and what we know.
Yeah, we're for another time.
Miranda, can I just ask you about the eyelash extensions?
Yeah,
I'm a bit sort of rubbish on all these kind of things, but do you actually have do you need to have some eyelashes to stick the extension to? No. Oh, right. Okay, that's interesting. I didn't know that existed.
No.
That's yeah.
So
that's amazing.
My eyelashes have actually started growing back because I've been using this stuff called Rapid Lash, which is also incredible because that's the only hair I have on my body. But when I didn't have any eyelashes at all, it's literally a glue that you put on your lid, and then the lashes stick to it's a strip lash, and they stick to, and they look amazing because it then looks like you've got eyeliner on as well.
How long do they last?
A day.
And
then you take. Oh, no. So sorry, they'll last on your face, stuck to your face for a day, and then I take them off in the evening. But you can get a good, like, I would say 10 wears out. I get about 10 to 12 wears out of mine. Yeah.
So that's my false eyelashes, I started putting mascara on them, but I think that's a bad move. I don't know. They don't seem to last as long when I put mascara on them, so I tend to get sort of fluffier ones now and not put mascara on them. They last longer.
I think you should connect. Miranda seems to know. You've got quite a good combination here. For hair, you could connect with like Christella, and then eyelashes and all the little tricks that I think Miranda would know the latest technology out for alopecia. Oh, have you heard of this new thing that's out? No one knows about that. Oh, I've used it. It's working for me.
One thing I would actually share, because I would want to share, is I tried to get eyeliner microbladed. And one thing I learned, which I didn't know, was that people with alopecia, it does actually affect their skin and like the absorbency of creams. And so I did microblading and the numbing cream didn't work. And I'm not joking, it was 10 times more painful than having a child.
Yeah.
It was
I
like
thought
having a knife
that.
just straight to your eyelid.
Ooh.
I literally thought that. She kept saying, "Oh, it doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt." I was like, it does hurt. Are you crazy? Like,
I don't think I'll have that done.
yeah, I don't know if it was just me. Everyone I know who has had their eyebrows microbladed has been like, "Yeah, it was a breeze." I'm like, what?
Yeah, don't worry. It's our special powers again.
Oh, okay, good to know I wasn't the only one.
Well, I had my eyebrows microbladed, but it didn't work. I was so gutted.
Yeah. So
What do you do to your eyebrows, Colette?
The pigment doesn't seem to absorb
Yeah,
as
no,
well.
so I had them done, and then after sort of, what is it, 10 days that you have to leave them, there was just nothing there. And then, you know, I thought I could pay more money to have them sort of topped up, but then I thought there's nothing there to top up. And, you know, I could end up paying out hundreds of more pounds to get it done again, and then it not work again. So yeah, God, there were quite a few tears shed that day when I sort of realised that nothing was going to happen. But now I just use the eyebrow transfers with a bit of makeup. I think they're amazing, actually. The eyebrow tattoo transfers. Great. Yeah, really
but
good.
I tend to think that you know, I know we're talking about eyebrows, but obviously when you talk about your skin is so smooth. Like, did you get that smooth skin after you started experiencing alopecia? Or I've not met anyone who's experienced alopecia that's got bad skin, and that's my opinion. Obviously, you guys could maybe speak about that, because I'm always amazed how you managed to kind of get your skin that nice, that smooth all the time. Have you always had that skin, or is it something that you develop as well as part of alopecia?
You sort of lose that fuzz, don't you? That like fuzz on your skin.
Yeah.
You don't need those blades to get all your fuzz off. So that's the only thing that I've noticed. I still get like hormonal spots and that kind of thing, but then I never really suffered from sort of acne or anything like that. Just hormonal spots around my chin and that kind of thing. But yeah, you do get rid of that sort of peachy fuzz thing.
Colette, I don't want to obviously pass that opportunity of you telling us about your wigs, because I've seen how many wigs you have already on Instagram. Telling us who supplies them to you and how you got all the wigs. I know I started going towards the skin aspect, which is totally out of the conversation that we're having. By the way, if you want to have a drink, you could just pause, because we've gone over time. You could just pause.
You could a charger because I'm running. Sorry, I'm coming back.
Don't you want to listen to me, Miranda?
You could just. I think. No, sorry, Colette.
Well, I was just going to say, the amount of wigs that I've got, I've started collecting them just over the last couple of months, really, because I've spent so long in that denial phase. Yeah. Of just buying the same wig, like Faith was talking about, like the repeat wig that she just kept getting, and then the fact that Miranda went and asked for hair that was like her hair before, and that's basically what I did. I just spent so long sort of buying the same wig over and over again in the same colour, and it's not been until I've started reaching out to people and sort of feeling empowered by other people and seeing what they're doing, that I've thought, oh yeah, I am going to experiment a little bit. So the first wig that I got, actually, unfortunately, my experience of the dermatologist wasn't so great. So I went to the dermatologist and I was given a prescription for payment towards the wig, and I was told our nearest NHS one was at hairdressers in our local town. So I went along to hairdressers, and I kind of got the impression that this is not something they do very often. They were just dealing with one brand of wig, and I was told, you can choose 3 and order them, and then we'll try them on. And these are the first wigs I've ever tried on. I don't know what to expect. I don't know what's out there. I don't know how good it can look. And so I got this wig. It wasn't It was kind of an emergency wig, but it was for in case my hair fell out even more and I couldn't hide it with hair extensions. But that's the other thing about, I keep digressing, I know, but that's the other thing about when my hair started falling out, I covered it up with hair extensions. But the way that I used to put them on, all these weird and wonderful ways to sort of try and cover up my patches, and then when I look back at photographs now, I think, what the hell were you doing? Why did you not just go and get a wig? And I did that for so long, and I have to share a photograph of one of them on Instagram, because you really can see that I've just put them on in all these strange ways, and I think that a wig probably would have looked better at that point. But anyway, going back to the hairdressers and my first wig, so I ended up getting this wig for if my hair fell out even more, I did have an emergency wig to put on. So I probably could have pursued it a bit longer, saying, oh, you know, could you order me this wig to try on this wig? But I got the 3 wigs, and the one that I got, she sort of trimmed for me, but I did look like one of the Beatles. So when I put it on, I thought, no, you look like a Beatle. so that didn't give me a great lot of confidence to want to sort of move on to wigs as well. It didn't have, you know, it wasn't one of these with a part that you could see. It was, you know, I guess in the wig world, it was quite an old-fashioned wig.
Right. Yeah. Yes. Did you not get any sort of advice from the hairdresser?
No, and that's the other thing. You know, I think, I mean, I don't know what it's like now when you go to the doctors, but I was referred to the dermatologist, and I wasn't given any signposts to anywhere really. You know, they didn't even tell me about Alopecia UK. Didn't tell me that I could find all this information online. I mean, I did eventually go online, look and find it, but I didn't find Instagram until this year, with all these amazing women on there sort of doing their thing and sharing all their experiences and reviews of different hair, and I just think that's amazing.
I mean, the UK certainly does have an issue with services for alopecia. It certainly has. You just evidence, go and search any US if you go on Google and search alopecia events US, there's loads of things that come up, pageants, a lot of things that you could do in the US if you've got alopecia and still feel included. But the UK, we are still working towards having so many platforms, because as much as is, you know, work being done by Alopecia UK, there's work being done by Hair Hills, there's work being done individually. And I think we need to bring in that community sort of feel to things, and then go out to the general community and say, this is who we are. I think the UK does need a lot of projects that are alopecia related. I mean, if we could quickly go through, I'll just kind of keep you guys for another 20 or 50 minutes, because I know I've already gone past the time, just to go through some of the questions really quickly without kind of keeping you guys too long. What do you think as an individual would be something that we could do here in the UK that's not currently running or happening, that's new, that's innovative, that's moving with the trends, to make alopecia visible and well represented in every aspect of the community, whether it's in the public platforms, entertainment, any platforms really that are currently dominating the trends? What do you think should be done, in your own words, what you wish could be done? I'll start with you, Christella, because you've been quite quiet for a while. Yeah, I mean, what do you feel we could add to the community to make sure that we're visible when people know about alopecia and the community, is well represented?
I think obviously we're trying to do as much as we can. I think, with us all being, being put into the mix more, in terms of like brands are picking up more alopecians. I say alopecians as a community, but we are being included just a fraction more, which is good to see. Like we've seen one of the ladies being featured in the Misguided campaign. One of, you know, I've obviously done the Channel 4 documentary. There's been loads of other campaigns that are due to come out that I've heard of women being featured in. And, you know, it's a small little thing, but it's just, you know, little dribs and drabs, but it does collate, and we will eventually be, I want it to be a point where it's like not a thing, like, you know, oh, she just so happens to be bald. It's not the fact that, oh, let's cast the bald model, or let's cast the, you know, bald lady for this specific project because we need to make it diverse. Like, it would be wonderful to just be a part because we are, you know, whoever we are, we're right for that role, or we're right for that, you know, for that opportunity. But I think in terms of the community, I think it would be really great for us to have events more. I think it would be really important for us to kind of, even if it's just a case of getting together, just in solidarity, just as a support, just to, you know, meet, because a lot of us, we're all so friendly. I mean, it's such an amazing community, and everyone supports everyone. When there's a project out, someone just, you know, you drop it in the group and someone's like, right, let's post the crap out of it, you know, let's all share it. But it'd be great to actually face to face, obviously after, you know, after cooking, but to actually meet these women, because we're all such good friends, but we've never, some of us have never even met.
So, in person.
Yeah, I would love to see, you know, more events where we could actually get together and support one another, and especially in supporting the younger women. I know we've all been through our journeys, you know, individually, but there are, you know, younger men and women who are still at the beginnings of their journeys, and I would love to be able to kind of get in on that, you know, point, even if it be with Hair Heals, or if it be with Alopecia UK, to actually support them, because there wasn't a lot for me when I was growing up, of any kind of where to go for support. Like Colette said, we're not directed to anything. You just kind of, you're like, oh, here's your diagnosis now, you know, good luck, take care, you know, kind of thing. So that would be wonderful to see.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely.
True, I agree with you as well. I think there needs to be a lot of events, and most of the events that should be in the alopecia community should be the normal events that are out there. Like if there's a theatre sort of performance, it should be involving people with alopecia, or it should be organised by someone with alopecia, or it should have a cast that has alopecia. So I think it's about having events that are out there at the time, and making sure we kind of are meeting and saying we were part of that, and then sharing it in the group again, saying, yeah, I was part of that, you know, in person, once the pandemic sort of lets us meet in person.
COVID allowing.
Yeah, I hope COVID is here and please allow us to do this. Faith, what are your thoughts? Like, is there anything that obviously you would like to see be added to what's already there, or change, or just
so,
within your own eyes, what you think?
First, just saying, like, this is the first time that I've actually spoken to other bald women. So I've not met anyone else that is bald or has alopecia. It's always been online. Unfortunately, I have been catfished by someone who used a bald woman's photo and wanted to get in contact with me. I've had that happen. That was only a few months ago. Yeah, that was destroying. It was so annoying, because that was the first contact I've had, well, what I thought was with someone with alopecia, and it was all fake. So I just think what I'd love to happen is just like to educate people. I feel like, so I work in the Arndale, and every single time I'm in there, there's always someone asking like, oh, you okay? And they always assume it's something else. And that's, for me, it's just kind of like, no, it's saying the same thing over and over again, which I'm fine doing, because it means I'm educating people then. But I'd like for it to just be the norm. Like, it's okay to be bald. Like, it's not a big thing. Well, it is, but it's not like, oh my God, that's a bald person. Like, let's
it shouldn't be.
That's what it's like. Yeah. And it's like, it's not weird. It's just, we just don't have hair, you know? And so I think everything just needs to be everyone needs to be more educated on it. I think like NHS as well, because I agree with you all when you've said that when the NHS just said, right, there's your diagnosis, goodbye. It's like my last appointment was in 2018. They just said, yeah, we can't do anything for you now because it's too bad. And they just dismissed me. And it's like, I can't go anywhere from here now. I've got to figure it out on my own. So and I think growing up, there was no influencers or YouTube people to look at. And as a high schooler, it's like you look to those people to like for guidance and to influence you and to guide you, and I couldn't. You know, I was trying these hairstyles and I was like, yeah, this would look great with a full head of hair, but no, it doesn't look great right now. So it's like I'd love for just to be a bit more normalized and more out there, more seen by everyone, you know, because at the moment I'm seeing I know Eve Betts, she was my idol because she was the first person that I saw was bald, and she went on
first dates.
Took a wig off and I was like, oh my gosh. And I was screaming at the telly like, oh my god, that's another bald person. And I shared it all.
That was awesome.
And I shared it all over Facebook, and I was like, why did I have that reaction? It's because it's not the norm. And it needs to be, you know, it needs to be normalized that it's okay to be bald. And then I think from that, younger people and everyone who experiences hair loss will know who to go to, will know that there's people to look at that can help them and support them, because I never had that and had to figure it out by myself, and through like with my mom and my boyfriend, like they've been the most helpful people for me, because I didn't even know about Alopecia UK till like a year ago, and I didn't even realize there was a big community of women on Instagram until only a few weeks ago. And it's such a new field that it just needs to be more educated and talked about, in my opinion.
I like the perspective, like kind of the angle you've brought in. It's more like the younger generation, sort of, you want to have the idol in front of you on all platforms. And that's kind of what we at Hair Heals are trying to do in terms of use what's currently on trend to get people with alopecia out there. I.e., nowadays everyone's obsessed with fashion. We know if we just stood back and say, let's just do regular campaigns and just have our charity baskets in town, we know that no one will give us attention, but we are forcing attention by using controversial methods, which is saying alopecia is fashion. Initially, when we said that, a lot of controversy came up in terms of, I think when we're coming up with a concept, why are you saying alopecia is fashion? But basically what we're trying to do and what we'll keep doing is using the industries that are dominating our conversations, which is the fashion industry. They're controlling everything from how people perceive other people and how people behave. So why not use those people to create a conversation and let people start accepting what is out there, which is which is alopecia. Like with you, Faith, you're in the entertainment industry where you're in dance, and you're talking about influencers. Sometimes it takes, what you're doing now is what you're actually setting the stage for what you've just said you would hope for. And it's so nice to see, because you are going to be the one that is going to influence someone who's going to watch this young, you know, maybe, you know, you'll be older, but they'll be young and looking for someone in the dance sort of sector, and they'll see you and they'll think, oh my God. So you will be the Eve Betts. You know, when we worked with Eve, she said, Claire, I'm not a model. Like she said, I'm not a model. I was just on first dates. There's no way I want to do this. And I said to her, but you are a model. Like you look like a model. And when we took the pictures, those are the most amazing pictures you will ever see of anyone in terms of currently in the UK with alopecia. If you look at the pictures we took and the footage of Eve and Nicola, there's Nicola as well on it. Absolutely gorgeous. They looked stunning. I've seen models with hair, all kinds of models, but they looked absolutely stunning. And they actually started to believe they're models. They actually started telling brands to say, yeah, we'll work with you. I'm a model. And they started doing shoots. Up until today, Nicola does a lot of shoots. She does a lot of, you know, she wants to work with Boohoo, all because of that one one sort of campaign. It's just, so it's the same with what you're saying. I think what you're doing now is going to set stage for I think the future. So I think we'll go to Colette now. What would you like to see? I know, oh my God, literally, time's gone, but bear with me. I'm holding you. 10 more minutes.
Yeah, so I think it's totally what Faith said. It's that exposure, isn't it, to seeing women and men with alopecia in like the fashion industry, in the media, because essentially I want my daughter to sort of, well, she sees me, so she sees me, I've got a visible difference, but I want that for all kids, really, not to be able to see people with them visible, like an image difference, and not think, and not think anything of it, just think that's normal because they're exposed to that on those platforms. I quite often think, why is there not more exposure? And perhaps it's because quite a lot of people with alopecia do feel that sort of shame and do feel like they can't sort of be themselves and get it all out there. And one thing that I did when my hair first started falling out was one of my friends, Ellen Stones-Ryan, she was trying to get better at her photography, and she asked me to model for her. Well, it was sort of a mutual thing, really. I asked her if I could model for her, and she said, could I practice on you, sort of thing. And it's one of the best things I ever did, because because they take hundreds and hundreds of photographs, but out of those photographs came some really lovely shots that made me feel really good. So even though I felt absolutely crap inside because my hair had started falling out, to be able to look at those pictures and think, oh, actually, I can still look nice. And I think if everybody had the opportunity to do that with somebody that they trust, or that maybe they build a relationship up with, so they feel confident enough to pose in front of, I think that would be a good thing, because then they would get the confidence maybe to actually take that further and maybe do it again, and feel like that could be them, that they could be a model. So I don't know whether I have thought, is there a way that we could make up some kind of database where photographers get in touch with people with alopecia to do fashion shoots? I don't know. Well, that's just an idea.
That's where we're heading, and obviously, that's where we're heading. But I think the one good thing one important sort of point I'm going to take from what you've said is you want to feel comfortable with the person that's taking pictures of you, and I think this is all to do with people like us in the events industry, to talk to photographers and tell them that there's a lot of models, or commercial models or professional people with alopecia that would like their pictures taken, but maybe you as a photographer should market yourself as someone who is able to take pictures of someone with alopecia and make them feel comfortable without obviously getting worried that you might cross a line. Because what I have seen when we work with photographers, when we're doing campaigns and shoots, is I have to make sure that the photographer understands alopecia and what it is. I can't just get any photographer, because there is a thin line where, people in the creative industry can be very touchy as well. Like, I don't know how I can put it in practical terms. They might just want to touch you. They might want to move your head, and without no offense, they don't want to offend you, but they want to touch you just to move you, to position you. So you need someone who knows the boundaries and what it is that alopecia is. And I think that all comes in with the awareness. And once they see that there's more models taking pictures and with alopecia, or just regular people doing it, the photographers will feel more inclined to market themselves to have pictures taken over time, to take pictures of people with alopecia. Don't know what you think, Miranda?
Yeah, it's so interesting. I've been thinking about it a lot recently. I think there's some there's huge potential to include, to be more inclusive, to broaden reach when we're informing and educating with a wider demographic, and particularly with a younger generation. I think there's huge power in informing and educating through storytelling. I mean, if you think about just us 4 or 5, us 5 even, sorry, all sharing stories here today, we've all learned something. And I don't know about you guys, but I feel hugely energized and also feel really confident and reassured and all these emotions. And just hearing that, Faith, this is the first time you've spoken to, it is for me too. And I have to say, when we all started speaking, I felt quite emotionally overwhelmed, because I was like, this is actually quite a big step to just be doing this. And the power in it is huge. And I think then you can start, if you start informing and educating, just sharing experiences, that's when you can then start making a change in the industries, as you say, and disrupting industries. And I think each of us have this amazing superpower, which is that we can be disruptors. And
yeah. Well, you've already disrupted a few things, Miranda. Come on.
Don't encourage me. I can keep disrupting things. But I do think that, like, that's how people learn. That's how people will feel more informed. And I think the inclusivity comes from it's so wonderful to see the hair loss community on social and on online and through Alopecia UK, but actually including the families, including more men, including ethnic minorities, to understanding the different types of alopecia, is how it will change, and how there'll be a big step change. One thing that I'm really focusing on, and I thought was fascinating, Faith, when you said about your when you stopped eating gluten, is the wellness side of alopecia, and whether or not my hair grows back because of certain changes I've made. I definitely feel more balanced, and therefore have more coping mechanisms for the fact that I have hair loss.
Sorry, Miranda,
alcohol is not one of them, by the way.
I've just remembered one of the conferences we're going to have on the 6th of February, because we're talking about health and wellness. We've got Yasmin, who's a fitness and health and wellness coach, who's going to be speaking on that day. Funny enough, our topics on that day will be to do with health and wellness. And so, I mean, anyone wanting to join into that forum is more than welcome in February on the 6th. But that's what I think she's working with Alopecia UK as well, to host a physical health and wellness event to do with diets and fitness for alopecia, because there's so much to talk about. But part of what we want to kind of cover is things like going to the gym when you've got alopecia, how hard it is, and no one ever speaks about it. And so it's so funny that you've brought up things like diets and wellness, because it's key as well to understanding alopecia. Because when Faith, like you said, when Faith was talking about when I started eating that, it seems like my hair grew back. That really fascinated me, because I've not heard many people talk about diet. And diet is such a big topic right now, with people going vegan and all kinds of sort of changes happening. I think like I say, there's a topic we're doing on the 6th. You're more than welcome, but I think it's worth us exploring more on that, whether it's on our platforms. Just keeping on sort of researching and finding out what diet does to your mental health, and to your sort of how it contributes to coping with alopecia, I should say. I mean, I think I know we had a lot to talk about based on the questions that I sent you guys pre this complicated technical forum. But I think one way or the other, we have delved into little aspects of the sort of questions. I didn't ask them directly as a classroom sort of form, in a classroom format. I have tried to kind of make it a bit more normal and natural. But one of the most important one I need to ask you guys before we kind of conclude is sort of how you having alopecia has been affected during lockdown, whether it's more to do with your mental health. If it has or if it has not, you know, what are your experiences with mental health while having alopecia during lockdown in terms of the social aspects? Has it stopped anything happening, or has it increased your engagement with the community more? And how's your mental health? I'll start with you again, Christella, because you were the first one to speak before. I have to swipe to see you.
Yeah, I think for me, I mean, the lockdown's been tough on everyone anyway. So it's been, you know, particularly important for me to kind of reach out to my, you know, my Instagram and just kind of check in. And sometimes it's like mental health, like check in for me as well. Like sometimes I'm just kind of spieling and like reeling off how I feel, and then someone might come back and be like, actually me too. And then, you know, that kind of sparks a conversation. But yeah, it's been really important for me to kind of, but then also at the same time to take time for myself, and not feel so pressured to, you know, be posting and to be, you know, constantly present, because that then goes the total opposite way, doesn't it? And you just feel like you're constantly being like, you know, forced into, you know, being present online. And that's also, you don't want to go that way, because, you know, that's just way too much and I just can't bear it. But I have, you know, found that a lot of people have just been, you know, really supportive and just kind of checking in with me and just seeing how I'm doing, and I'm doing the same for everybody else. But I think the most important thing is kind of getting back to reality, because at the end of the day, like you know, your phone is, you know, we do a lot on our phones, but actually stepping out into the world and actually being present is the most important thing for me during this lockdown, because you got to keep yourself sane, and you can't just constantly be focused on the phone and being, you know, within, you know, as much as we're really supportive, I think it's important to be present elsewhere as well. And just, you know, connecting with family is great, but yeah, as we know, it's all been very, very difficult, and the unknown, I think, is the hardest part of it all, as we don't know when things will be back to normal. But, you know, we have hope that, you know, we will eventually meet again.
We're already meeting.
We'll get back together.
Touch hands again.
We'll be able to like link up, and, you know, we can drink and throw our wigs around.
Cool.
Go on, Colette. What are your thoughts on, obviously, adding on to what Christella has said, and lockdown and how that's affected your mental health and in relations to alopecia? And
yeah, so really similar to Christella as far as Instagram goes. I have been quite present on there really since I've started, but it's quite a new thing for me, so I'm well into it. But I can definitely see that side of it, that it can take over, and I think sometimes you do need like a little detox from it as well. I suppose when the kids are at school, lockdown's great.
yeah.
But yeah, I suppose sort of, you know, doing the homeschooling, that kind of thing, it does add that extra pressure. But, you know, it's a good opportunity just to sort of spend time with the family and, you know, do other things with them that you might not normally have time to do with them. But on another sort of aspect of it as well is that I don't have to worry too much about what wig I'm going to put on to go out, or, you know, it's just, you know, whack your beanie on, off you go, you know, or just hanging around the house in, you know, whatever you fancy putting on your head, really. Yeah, so, yeah, that's been a nice side of it, really.
Colette, would you, I mean, I think going back to the mental sort of health aspect, I think when I've spoken to people, you know, like organizations about alopecia and how it could affect your mental health, they have asked me to be specific on what it is that alopecia does to your mental health, seeing as it's easy. You could just get a wig and wear a wig. You could just get on with life. You're physically fine. You know, there's nothing wrong with you. Clearly, you're not in a depressing state. So what is it why is alopecia being associated to mental health? It doesn't apply. I mean, is there a specific sort of word to use in terms of how it makes you feel that could be interpreted in scientific terms where someone could understand the effects of you constantly having to think of what wig you're going to wear? Is that associated to maybe a bit of anxiety, or is that associated to fear? Because I think what people don't know is what it is that it does to you, because they think you could just brush it off and be normal, seeing as you're physically fine.
Yeah,
mentally.
I think it depends what stage you're at with it to begin with, and also you know, if you've got to, like Miranda said, it's sort of like a grieving process, and if you've got to that acceptance phase, then I think it's probably much easier to deal with. But you know, I have to say, for that 5 years, like the first, well, probably say about the first 4 years, I've really struggled with my mental health, to the point where I've had such bad social anxiety
about
it, that it's been debilitating, really, on, you know, quite a lot of the time. You know, not wanting to meet friends, you know, making plans to meet friends, and then at the last minute thinking, oh no, I can't go. But I think, you know, it's a spectrum, isn't it? And it depends on the person as well, sort of how they deal with it. So I can only speak from my own perspective, but you know, I have really struggled with it, to the point where I have had depression.
I think a big part of it for me was self-esteem, and my self-esteem just went in overnight. But then on that, through the grieving process, what happens is that, you know, the human race is built around control, and we all like to be in control. And alopecia is something, you know, sometimes you just wish that someone just told me it was because of an illness that I had it, because then you know, and you know why, and you're not constantly searching. And it's a bit like, I often liken it to, like, if someone went missing, or you know, the fact that you never have answers is so damaging for mental health, because ultimately you have no control. And I think that's why I found solace in diet and wellness, because there's an element of control. Now, that's also not healthy to an extreme. So there is a fine balance. Like, you can't just always, you've got to be able to create boundaries and not live your life in such a controlled manner. But I do think for a lot of people with alopecia, it's this not knowing why it happened and not knowing what you can do to get yourself out of it. And so that's why when the education and informing piece becomes so important, I think.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
And I think sharing your, like you said, your stories and reaching out to people that are the same as you is really, I mean, that out of anything has helped me the most. But it's just taken me so long to do that. That I've spent so many years feeling that way. And as soon as I've reached out to people, I've felt much more sort of elevated and happier and
what do you think,
more worthy, if you like.
Why do you think you got to that point? Because I think people get there as such it's such a personal point to get to. And that's sort of almost what we're trying to do, aren't we? Trying to accelerate for younger people to get to that point of reaching out for
Yeah, I feel like basically I'd tried everything. So I'd tried the different diets, and I'd tried rubbing things in my head, and I tried yoga, and you know, I felt like I'd tried everything I possibly could, and I felt exhausted by it, really. And I just thought, right, you know, I'd had counselling for like image difference. And I do feel like that helped a lot. And it did help to talk to somebody that kind of wasn't related to me in a way at first. That counsellor really helped me, but she did push me out of my sort of safety boundaries by saying, like, I want you to take a photograph of yourself with no hair that I'm going to share. I want you to take a photograph of yourself in a wig that I'm going to share with my colleagues and ask them, what do you notice that's different about this person? And in the end, you know, they didn't notice. But it was sort of pushing my boundaries that got me there in the end. And then obviously with the pandemic, the counselling sort of wasn't going on as I mean, I could do it through Zoom like this, but I didn't really want to with the kids in the house. I didn't feel comfortable about that, so we decided to stop it. And I think at that point I thought, you know, there's only one person that can change this, and that person's me. And it doesn't matter how anybody else sees you, it's more to do with how you see yourself.
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing that made me go, right, I'm going to start an Instagram account, and I'm going to put myself bald on there, and that led to reaching out to lots of lovely people that I can talk to and make me feel okay about it.
Wow, like, it's so, I mean, for me, no, obviously I've got hair, but it's so funny how I am so inspired by, because if I don't have an Instagram life, put it that way, neither do I have a Facebook life. I can put up a persona, I have to because of my profession, to try and look like I am out there. But I know as a person, I am not confident in putting my image out there. I always have been since I was young. I'm a behind the scenes sort of person. So when I hear you say that it's about kind of pushing the limits, and I know what my fears are, and my fears are, I just don't want people interested in my life because I think my life is not interesting at all. And so when I get a like, I go, oh my God, no. Why? But again, it's a complex sort of, I can do it for work, but I can't do it for my personal sort of life. Listening to just kind of what you, Miranda, Christelle, it's kind of common, you push that boundary and say, this is who I am, and you're public and you're doing what you love and you feel more you since you did that. And I think every person, whether you've got alopecia or not, faces the same challenge. And that is, we all just ultimately want to be accepted for who we are. And some have already broken that barrier, some haven't. And I can confidently say on a personal level that I haven't, in terms of putting myself out there. But now from just having this conversation, I've kind of picked up that anyone listening in, the common factor is pushing what is that scares you, doing it. And then after you do it, you see what happens. You're, all right, I'm still here. I'm still alive. So I'm going to do something else. I'm going to try and push it more. It's kind of like pushing that sort of, pushing yourself. And it requires a lot more than just saying, I'll do it today. It requires support from family, friends, the environment around you. And obviously, sorry, Miranda.
I was just going to say, and doing it in a safe space, because one comment or one bit of trolling can set you back, you know, can set people back. And there's
1,000%.
I've seen an example of that recently with a young girl on Instagram, and it was heartbreaking, because I think, you know, how much courage that took for her to just be on there and to be talking about it and talking about her. And you know, it takes big strength of character to ignore the trolling, I think.
Yeah, it's not easy. And just to add to that, Miranda, like, it's okay to do it in your own time, and it's okay to not want to do everything all at once and go out bald and posting and, you know, talking about it. That's okay. Like, it's absolutely fine to take one little step at a time. And I think we've all done that as well, because we've all taken it drip by drip. But, you know, it can very quickly look like to a new person to the community that, oh, I have to share everything straight out the gate, and I have to go out bald, and I must be doing all these fantastic things. But it took us all years of work to really get to this point. So, and I think that's the biggest thing, you know, take your time. It's all in your own pace.
Yeah, and don't put yourself under pressure to do it as well, because that can also make you unhappy. And just, you know, do it in your own time. Yeah.
Wow. And lastly, Faith. You've been listening in to everyone going, okay. I think the same question, Faith, in terms of, you know, how you've, you know, your mental health during isolation, and if anything's changed, or, you know, what are your thoughts, how you've coped, and just pretty similar to what everyone else is saying in terms, just branch off from that.
Yeah, well, at the start of lockdown, I was more concerned as to what COVID meant to me, having alopecia, like, because it's an autoimmune condition, and because I've also got gluten intolerance, like, does that affect my immune system? Like, am I vulnerable? And it was never spoken about because, you know, and so I even went to work, so I was still working when it was still before, like the week before lockdown, I was still working, and both managers on separate days did ask me, like, why are you here? Like, are you okay to be here? Which made me even more wonder, like, should I be here? Like, should I be in? So I ended up going, because that was when I was at uni, so I ended up going back home, to which my mum is an NHS worker, so she was working with the COVID patients, and she'd come home and she'd de-stress, and it was just more about spending time with the people that you're with and making memories then and there, you know, knowing that take every day like it's your last day, because for some people it was, and it was really unfortunate. So I think for me it was keeping busy. I know when I stop and overthink, that's when I get upset and like all flustered and I overthink things ridiculously way too much. And I got into just little activities, like randomly I got back into colouring, and like watching TV, and I still had my uni to focus on. I'd go out for my exercise runs and I'd still be dancing. I think for me it was just to keep busy and to keep active, and on FaceTime to people as well. I know technology isn't great, as we've seen today, but it's just, I think everyone just had to make it work, because it's just human contact that I think everyone is, and no one's going to take for granted if there ever was. I think for me it's kind of, lockdowns taught me just to do it. It's like, you know, don't hold back. I know I'm confident. Like I know I can go out and tell my story. I know that, you know, I can be open about how I feel. So I think it's just saying, like, just do it, you know.
Where to start?
Yeah. So that was me over lockdown, really. Just keeping busy and knowing that it's okay to take it slow, but it's okay if you just want to go for it and go crazy and, you know, post a YouTube video about your life story. So
It's so interesting to kind of see how let's say how you've all kind of come to this place where you are now, ready to not just speak for yourself, but to speak for someone else who you might not even know. Would you say, this is the last question, and after this we're going to finish, just to let you guys know, because we've covered everything pretty much in our talks. Would you say, is this now a personal, from this conversation, is this going to be a personal sort of plan to now advocate actively for people with alopecia? Are you going to take this seriously? Are we an army now? Or I'm hoping I haven't stopped you from doing it after this. I'm not saying that you should post all the time on your Instagram, by the way. I'm just saying, in terms of the future, once things open up and there's a lot going on, as Hair Heals, we are going to need an army of people that could join us in unusual situations. Like I said, currently my strength is I work with the media a lot. I know Christella has been on a documentary which I wanted to talk about, but we don't have time, and I'm hoping that she'll give me a chance to bring her back again. But just Ishran, what are you going to do now from this conversation to make sure that the visibility for people with alopecia does not fizzle out because of this lockdown? And after the lockdown, standing up for who you are and sort of campaigning and raising awareness in whichever way, shape or form that you can. I'll start with you, Miranda. I know you work for Apple, so how are you going to influence in your environment to make sure that everyone knows that there's a lot of groups out there, there's a lot of things, people with alopecia are doing big things and representing in different sectors?
Well, not necessarily specifically through Apple, although I don't wear a wig to work. So,
oh, amazing!
And I join a lot of conversations that we have whenever I have the opportunity. You know, I speak on panels at work and about it. So I do share it at work and share the story. But I'm really interested in the work that Alopecia UK does and how I can use this, my sort of more creative background and experience to help push that organization forward. I've actually applied to be a trustee of the charity, and it's really just being an active member of the community from my perspective, sharing my story through whatever platform that might be, getting more friends, just have, you know, I feel like I've got four more friends now today, which particularly at my age, you don't really get more friends. just get more children and children's friends. So yeah, I think it's just about being an active member of the community and taking every opportunity to talk about it, not shying away from the conversation.
Yeah. Faith?
I think for me, I want to get my eyebrows microbladed. Just from talking, when you said it, I was like, oh my gosh, your eyebrows! I didn't notice. I'm drawing my every day, and I'm like, why am I putting myself through this effort? So that I'm probably going to look into. But also, I just think with my dance course anyway, I'll be doing a dissertation, and I'm surrounding that with my story on alopecia. And I'm hoping to get Arts Council funding, depending on how COVID goes, so that I could hopefully tour that around the UK as a solo. That's the plan if I can do that, which is like a big step. Woo.
Yeah,
but,
amazing. That'd be amazing.
Yeah, I'd love to do that. But I just think I used to have a YouTube channel that I posted on after I shaved my head, and I got one dislike on it, and that was it. I didn't put it. I was like, how can someone dislike my story? And I was like, oh. But I think I'm gonna defo get into that, and I think I've had enough time now to be by myself and live in the moment and experience and learn from myself and what I've done, that I want to share that now. And I think as well, because I've been on my own for so long, and obviously this is my first interaction with other people that have alopecia, I do want to educate myself more on the community and other communities out there and other people that have alopecia, because even on Instagram and Facebook, I'm not following many people that have alopecia, and I'm following people that have really long hair, and I'm like, why am I watching this video? Because I can't relate. So I think I just need to kind of zone into where I fit in, I think, as well. So, yeah.
I mean, talking back about when you first created your video, and I'll be quick doing this, I can tell you as someone who's just like Miranda into marketing and PR, that the likes, you know, I think when you're creating content, it's not normally about the actual engagement. It's not the likes, it's about the engagement. So sometimes you might not get a like, but if there's people watching your video, then you're doing something, because ultimately those who are watching will like your stuff. It takes years. I could tell you that based on what we've done, even the work that I have done separate from alopecia work, that once you start creating a portfolio, an image of yourself, you won't get likes instantly. I think the more videos you have, once people find you, the better, rather than one video which has a dislike. So I think that's such a good thing, you know, in dance for you to do, if you took that on YouTube. So unique. And as Hair Heals, because our focus is creativity, I want to continue to sort of work with you, Faith, and engage with you more to get people involved in the work that you do. The aim for us as hair healers is not to have people with alopecia or someone with alopecia isolated to just helping people with alopecia. I think the aim is to get your art in front of the community as a whole. Because when we did the shoot with Ethan and Nicola, they worked with stylists who had long hair and everything. It's about, I think, teaching you to cope in environments that have got people who might have what you don't have, and you still standing up and saying, I'm here because of who I am. Yeah. So I definitely would like to engage with you more based on your dance and creativity, because that's something that Hair Heals is more so interested in, the theatre and creativity aspect. Colette?
Yeah. So very much like sort of Miranda and Faith already, just carrying on reaching out to people on Instagram, finding out about their stories, finding out about their alopecia, because there's lots of different types of alopecia as well. But also, for a long time, I have sort of liked singing and performing, and it's something that I've stopped doing, really. I did try to get back at it, and I did have a few paid jobs singing, but just the stage fright, sort of coupled with the fact that I was so concerned that people would be able to tell I'm wearing a wig, sort of made me stop, really. And that's something I'd quite like to get into again, but perhaps without a wig this time.
Yes.
So we'll see. Yeah, that is something I'd quite like to get back into. Make myself do it.
Christella?
So I mean, for me, being on Instagram is kind of like still going to be the thing for me. It's kind of being present more. I have taken a little, break from Instagram for a little while, just over the holiday, just to be a regular person who doesn't have to feel like they post all the time. But yeah, I will be back being more consistent. I will be sharing my wig tips and tricks for the natural look, or if you want to be super over the top like me and go pink and stuff, and how to rock that confidently. So I will be sharing all those little videos. But for me, this kind of has become my life, and the wig life is my day-to-day now, and being with patients, my oncology patients and my derm patients, and constantly reassuring them that just because you've lost your hair doesn't mean you lose your identity. And I'm constantly getting the lovely comments from my patients being like, why don't I just do what you do and just go bald? And I'm like, yeah, you could do. There's nothing wrong with that. But at the same time, let's get you this wig just in case you don't want to. So having the choice and being fluid about that, and just being, I don't have to be just bald, and I don't have to, adhere to the wig police and, be, fixed in wearing a wig constantly 24/7. So I just want to reiterate that to, the community, and just being, as present as I can be this year, hopefully. And eventually putting on a little event so that we can actually meet would be amazing.
Definitely.
That's definitely something I want to do this year, because I feel like we so badly need it.